Hello, welcome to our question and answer for English 2000. My name is Emily Soulier.
My name is Monique Onka.
And my name is Daria Aaron.
Today, we will be talking about the history and evolution of LSU football uniforms and gear. Today, we will be discussing safety performance, uniform evolution, player identification, and the current and future technology for football uniforms. Helmet safety has always been controversial. How has the safety of helmets developed over the years?
The evolution of helmets has changed drastically. Helmets were not required to be worn in college ball until 1939. The first helmet was made out of leather straps or moleskin, which provided little to no protection. The handmade helmet didn't cover the player's whole head and had ear flaps that resembled an aviator style. The first plastic helmet was patented by the name Rydell in the 1940s by a Chicago sport and goods store. In 1906, when the forward pass was introduced, players started to paint their headgear for more functional purposes, which made it easier for quarterbacks to spot their receivers down the field. Rydell made a new model of the helmet in 1970 that had vinyl pads in the inside that could absorb impact and create more of a fitted style. The standard helmet now is the Rydell Revolution Speed. Plastic is still used to make these helmets, but science is still continuing to find better formulas to make the helmet slider inside and out for better performance. The late 1950s is when the face mask penalty was introduced.
What type of padding was initially used when football gear first started to incorporate safety equipment?
The first padding was made out of wool and leather that was sewn in the jerseys, instead of worn as equipment. In the 1960s and 1970s, plastic was used for the padding, which consumed less material and created more effective protection.
Aside from safety gear, what are some ways the clothing and material has developed since the late 19th century when football began?
The pants have changed the least. In the 1980s, the pants were made with a light padding sewn on the knee and the thigh. The early materials have changed from canvas and wool to nylon, foam rubber, and other synthetic materials. The changes of the pants has created a greater sense of comfort, mobility, safety, and ventilation.
Footwear is an important aspect for athletes today. What are the first shoes and what did they look like that the players wore?
The shoes in the earliest stages used were similar to boots that resemble a man's work shoe. The cleat was born because the men wanted to be able to play well in the different fields. Players would attach their own metal designs at the bottom of their shoes. Manufacturers began to make a ready-to-go cleat. The shoes changed from a high-rise boot to a lower-cut shoe, and now the cleat is lighter designed for the individual and made for different climate conditions. What are some of the events that led to changing the leather helmet to the plastic helmet?
According to the annual survey of football injury research by University of North Carolina, head and cervical spine fatalities reduced dramatically. The survey also shows an increase of head and spine injuries between 1965 and 1975 because concussions were not reported regularly until the 1970s. Also back then, many injured players refused medical attention due to the football warrior culture and the fear of lame-one teammates.
What was the major change that made players' performance better?
In 1956, Ohio inventors John Campbell and George Sarles invented helmets with radio receiver device that provides electronic coach-to-player communication. They placed the device in the quarterback's helmet and relay calls to him directly instead of sending in plays with substitute players. Before it was invented, the league cut the play clock from 40 to 45 seconds. That was slowing the game. Also, teams had to call more timeouts because they were running out of time sending substitutions in with play calls for the quarterbacks. NFL Commissioner Bart Bell banned its use of league-wise, and coaches went back to hand signals and player substitution to call plays. In 1994, NFL approved a new version helmets that really helped speed up the pace of the game. The new helmets with communication system also reduced the need for timeouts, saving teams for more than 8 seconds on play calls that helps the team and players' performance.
What about player identification? Any major changes?
In 1952, LSU coach Gus Tinsley and Sport Information Director Jim Corbett concocted a unique letter and number system for the Tigers jerseys. Ends, guards, and tackles wore the letter E, G, and T followed by a single number, even for the right side of the line and odd for the left. Similarly, centers, quarterbacks, left and right halfbacks, and fullbacks wore C, Q, L, R, and F. The 1953 edition of LSU yearbook predicted the new system may revolutionize the football jersey manufacturing industry. It didn't. After a dismal 3-7 season, LSU reverted to conventional numbers for the 1953 campaign.
What are some of the benefits of having a company sponsor the teams?
There are many benefits that comes with the development of team uniforms, sponsorships, and technology. According to an article from Saturday Down South, LSU is a school that receives the most allowance for their sponsorship with the company Nike. LSU receives $3.1 million for the sponsorship, and it also gives brand recognition to Nike and establishes LSU as a premium collegiate athlete school because the players are using the same gear and technology as NFL players who also wear the brand of Nike.
What is some of the current technology in the LSU athletes' uniforms?
There's a lot of new technology to increase performance in the players' uniforms. Some of these features include lightweight, durable jerseys that are more breathable for the players, Nike Vapor Trial gloves, which help the players grip the ball better, decreasing the amount of fumbles. They also have lightweight pants that remain lightweight when wet with sweat or rain to increase movement and agility of the players. And finally, the players are equipped with lightweight Nike cleats that allows the players to move quickly on the field. All of these uniform components and gear were provided by Nike, the athletic team sponsor.
What are some of the future technology that companies are looking to use for the newer uniforms?
There are some controversial studies that have been brought up recently. According to an article in the New York Times, athletic companies want to start creating wearable tech equipment to gather health and performance data from players. The technology would be smart clothing embedded with sensors to monitor player heart rate, a GPS tracker, and to track the speed of the players. This would be a great idea because it allows further research to go into player protection and health, but some people are weary of the idea because it would have player performance data and player health data easily accessible to anyone because of the lack of regulations for this type of information. Many schools, including LSU, have not yet agreed to this in order to protect their players. But with more rules and regulations, this could be the future of football gear. Thank you for listening. I hope this information was informative and you learned a lot about the evolution of LSU football gear.